kick off this hot take about Liberation Day and its complete decimation of the world economies, all in a 1-hour press conference in the Rose Garden by Donald Trump, let me just read to you from Ed El Husseini, rate strategist at Columbia Threadneedle. Here's what he had to say after seeing what is effectively an across-the-board average of 23% increase on tariffs on countries that we are trading partners with, meaning everything we import from them is going to carry an extra 23% price tag on it. Some countries going as high as 40, 50, or 60% or higher, some countries slightly lower, but averaging 23%. According to Ed, this is a quote in Bloomberg. Clearly, this is a concrete negative shock to the economy. What is clear and clean is that we have to fully price in the negative shock up front. At end of day, this is a tax. Who will pay for the tax is uncertain. You will. But I don't think you can see this as a growth in a positive way. It's growth negative and inflation positive in the short term. This is the chief investment advisor of Charles Schwab, Liz Ann Saunders. I think what we're likely to see fairly soon is a re-rating of the probabilities of recession. It would not surprise me at all if we see those notched up. At the very least, we're going to see further downward pressure on company profitability. Let me continue. Michael O'Rourke, chief market strategist at Jones Trading. This looks like it will net out to be worse than the 20% plan they were expecting. Considering all of the U.S. products manufactured in Asia, these tariff rates of 20 to 34% I see are steep. I see Taiwan is 32%, which will restrain the semiconductor space. This should slow trade, raise prices, squeezing profit margins. This will further slow a decelerating economy as it creates friction and distortion in global trade. I think we need to expect retaliation. Now, that's just from some economists. Let's look at the numbers after the 4 or 5 o'clock press conference today. Dow Jones futures, that's the prediction of where the market is at the opening bell tomorrow, down over 2%. Standard & Poor's futures, down 3%. NASDAQ futures, down 3.35% before the opening bell today on Thursday. What does it mean? It means that Donald Trump has succumbed to the proselytizing, the guidance, the advice of people like Peter Navarro, fresh out of a prison stint, Howard Lutnick, his commerce secretary, who's never run a macro economy before. And he has the ones that have lost out in this war, this tariff war, are people like Scott Bessent, the Treasury secretary, who is trying to distance himself from this debacle that's going to be the failure of the U.S. economy in response to this tariff war. I mean, Donald Trump, I'm going to show you a clip in a minute from Bessent. Donald Trump stood in the Rose Garden, a windy Rose Garden, his fake hair flying everywhere. Howard Lutnick, Commerce Secretary, Treasury Secretary wannabe, comes up there with the chart. I got the chart. Yeah, the chart is devastating. The chart is devastating. You got countries that are our allies at 30, 40, 50%, including the European Union, including Israel. The only ones left off the board are Canada and Mexico because we're in another trade war with them. This has unnerved investors who were not expecting an effective 23% across the board tax, which is only going to be suffered by the American people. Who do you think is going to pay the tax? It's the American people that are going to pay the tax. Let me read to you from another analyst. Again, they're trying to get their minds around all of this. This is what Ed El Husseini said from Columbia Threadneedle. Clearly, this is a concrete negative shock to the economy. What is clear and clean is that we have to fully price in the negative shock up front. At end of day, this is a tax. Who will pay for the tax is uncertain, but I don't think you can see this as a growth positive in any way. It's growth negative and it's inflation positive in the short term. Those aren't my words. How hard is this to understand? You've got you cut off all at the same time within the first 90-day period, less than 90-day period, 75-day period. You cut off billions of dollars of humanitarian aid, behind which there are American jobs for every one of those, by shuttering U.S. aid. Take that off the board. This is all at the same time. You get rid of hundreds of thousands of federal workers and their paychecks. So take that off the board in terms of the economy and the boost to the economy. You cut the fuel supply between the U.S. government and the U.S. economy. So you stop funding billions of dollars of state programs, including health programs. So you cut that off. You cut off billions of dollars to not-for-profits and other organizations that rely on you because they're DEI. You cut off hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars to universities because you don't like the way they treated Donald Trump or how they responded to Black Lives Matter or to the Hamas-Israel war. But when you take money out of the economy, right, you're going to stall the economy. Stall. And that's what we're hearing. We're hearing the giant engine of the global economy stalling out because of all of these things being done simultaneously. Yeah. Donald Trump thinks all these people are going to come back and start negotiating. Hey, we got Israel on the phone. Hey, we got Ivory Coast on the phone. Hey, not going to happen. All it's going to be is a tit for tat retaliation. Now, Scott Bissett, I'm going to show you the clip now, our Treasury Secretary, who's trying to distance himself from the whole thing, the whole mess, because he was not known as a tariff hawk. I mean, he got on board because he knew coming in that this is what Donald Trump wanted to do. But he said, listen, this is the highest number, this tariff, so it's not going to get any worse. So let's come down from there. Don't retaliate. Let's roll that clip.
We're going to have the baseline tariffs come into effect first. Then there are reciprocal tariffs, a little bit more of a different rate for each individual trading partner. Are you preparing to negotiate with some of these trading partners before that tariff rate comes into effect on April 9th?
Well, I think there have been a lot of discussions, but I think we're just going to have to wait and see what would happen. What I would say, Anne-Marie, is I would advise none of the countries to panic. I wouldn't try to retaliate, because as long as you don't retaliate, this is the high end of the number. And I think the market could have certainty that this is the number barring retaliation. So we've got a ceiling, and then we can see if there's a different floor.
This is the worst set of protectionist policies imposed on the world economy since the U.S. did it in the 1930s during its great protectionist America First period. And we know what happened then. A little something called the Great Depression. The only reason we got out of the Great Depression is a little something called World War II. If we didn't have World War II putting everybody back to work and stoking the engine, the fire of the U.S. economy again, who knows what would have happened, right? These protectionist America First policies are doomed to fail. And it's not just in the short term. Like, well, it's a short-term glitch, but this is what they say. But eventually it'll be helpful to the American people. The American people are weary of inflation. That's why Joe Biden and Kamala Harris didn't get reelected. They don't want inflation. What do you think a 23% import tax is? It is a tax. It will get passed through as a cost to the American people. Prices will rise. It would be counterintuitive to believe that prices are going to fall as a result of a tariff war being imposed, us on them and them on us. Is this the time when you inherit a roaring economy, making jobs, building wealth for all people, making people economically secure? That's what Donald Trump inherited from Joe Biden. When you inherited this crown jewel, you don't drop your pants and crap all over it, which is what Donald Trump and all of his half-wits and too smart by half economists and Treasury advisors and the head of the Office of Management and Budget and Commerce Department and Treasury Department collectively put together, they're a bunch of numbskulls. There is no scenario where over the next year or two or three, the American people are benefited. See, Donald Trump thinks, hey, I'm going to collect billions and billions of dollars in this tariff war, right? And I'm going to do that right before I do the tax cuts. think of the holes we're talking about. You can't fill the holes with the revenue from the tariff war, the holes that Donald Trump is making in our economy, right? In order to support the federal government and its responsibilities to the American people, whether that be healthcare, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, student loans, veterans benefits, and the rest. In order to support that, you got to take in about $4 trillion, $4.5 trillion. And then you pay out $4.5 trillion, okay? Getting rid of your tax base, stopping the Internal Revenue Service from collecting, okay? On top of that, cutting taxes to the wealthy, shrinking the number. You can't replace it with the several hundred billions of dollars that you're collecting in tariffs. Several hundred, I mean, listen, like I said before, I'm not a PhD in math, but I do understand greater than, less than sign. And hundreds of billions of dollars is less than trillions of dollars that need to be filled in the coffers to pay for the operation of the federal government. And when you cut all of these fuel lines, the connectivity between the U.S. government and the U.S. economy, click, because you stop making those investments, then you don't understand what makes the American economy hum. We are not a pure capitalist system. Never were, never will be. I mean, if Donald Trump has his way, I guess we will be. We're supposed to be a regulated society, a constitutional republic attached to a modified capitalist system that also has a social safety net attached to it and things that are important to most Americans that Donald Trump has eliminated, like the Department of Education. Like he doesn't care about educating the youth of America. So what I expect throughout the day, the weeks, the months is a terrible, unfortunate. I'm not here. I'm trying not to be the Grim Reaper. People that know me know I often get accused of being, peddling hopium, But I'm also trying not to be the Grim Reaper. I'm not taking any special delight in making these objective predictions about the impact of Liberation Day on the economy. I'm not. I would much rather we had a sane, not criminally insane president, even if he wasn't of my party, operating and the economy kind of humming along. I'd be fine with that. I don't need a shitty economy in order to drag Donald Trump down or to beat him at the midterms. But he's making it easy. But on the other side, I'm not going to turn a blind eye to what's obvious, and I'm not going to try to tell the American people the truth. And the truth is, the economy is slowly being ground to a halt and stalling out because of Donald Trump. Let's go back quickly, just 5 years ago, what Biden inherited. Biden inherited a world economy, wasn't even on life support. It was dead. It was flatlined. It needed to be resuscitated with paddles, $3 trillion worth. Heart started again. Same thing happened, by the way, just to put this in historical context, with Obama. When Obama took over from Bush, the fundamentals of the economy are strong, whatever McCain said. When Obama beat McCain and took over for Bush, he and his economic team were handed a one-pager from Federal Reserve Chairman and others that said, if we don't bail out the banks, there will be no banks in the morning, effectively. There will be no economy in the morning. That's why on 2 sheets of paper, Congress approved a $3 trillion, $2 trillion investment then. Bail out the banks, bail out big auto. They all needed it. The economy wouldn't be what it was without it. So every time Democrats got to come in and clean up behind the elephant, no pun intended. The elephant symbol of the Republican Party. We're always cleaning up behind the elephant. They should put that on a bumper sticker. It should be a donkey cleaning up behind an elephant, because that's what we're left with. In fact, if anybody has an idea for a t-shirt and is a graphic designer, give me a Democratic donkey with a cap, with a Uncle Sam hat, clean it up, obviously, behind an elephant crapping, clean it up behind the donkey. Okay, I'd love to see that. Send that to me. But that's apparently what we are made to do. We are the better stewards of the economy. We are the better stewards of fiscal responsibility. We, Democrats, make more jobs by a lot. We build more wealth by a lot. And yet the Republicans constantly run on they're the better stewards of the world economy. Do you believe that now that you understand Liberation Day? Continue to follow what happens right here. I'll always put my Wall Street hat on Legal AF. So until my next reporting, I'm Michael Popok. In collaboration with the Midas Touch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories at the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.